And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast presented to you, as always, by our good friends at the Holy Grail down at the Banks. It is a very happening summer down at the Banks, so make sure you stop in and visit our good friends. Maybe going to a Reds game, you got a concert, something happening downtown. Stop by the Banks. They will get you taken care of. Great drinks and lots of good food and all of the atmosphere that you could ever desire. So go see our friends at the Holy Grail all summer long. They'll get you taken care of. All right, here we go. It is, we are finally at the point where it feels like summer is, the summer lull is past us. How do you know? Because talking season starts. And then when talking season starts, that means camp is coming shortly. That means Camp Higher Ground. That means coverage. That means content. That means that we don't have to talk to each other for 20 minutes before a show saying, what are we going to talk about today? We know what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Big 12 Media Days. The Bearcats take the stage tomorrow, but Brett Yormark was on the stage today. The activity began, and I sent our esteemed new colleague, Keegan Nickerson. Why is your name like that?
We're gonna get this addressed now before we get into anything. So my name on the site is spelled wrong, and I've been meaning to tell you.
I think it's your email, isn't it?
Man, are we are just a professional outfit all the way around, huh?
My email is my first initial last name. So when I get on with Mo today, and he says you can follow him at Nickerson42, and it's pronounced like Nix with a K. I'm like, oh great, everyone thinks my last name's spelled like that. So now I'm announcing that my last name is Nickoson. It's not Knick. That is just my username for everything I use.
So this sounds like a you problem. Like you created this problem.
You looked at my name on Twitter and then typed it in wrong on the site.
No, I typed it in right. I didn't put it. No, I didn't do that.
It says Keegan Nickerson with an N on my Twitter.
Yeah, you want to tell me lose some. This is hazing the new guy. So if I'm Pat Fitzgerald, I guess I might be. Apparently, we could have you have done a lot worse. This is just the entry level stuff.
You want to take some center quarterback exchanges with Brent?
I thought the rains down in Africa was the worst thing that I'd hear on the show.
Nope. We're always trying to go lower, Keegan.
Keegan, just wait till next week, man.
Oh, you want to come on next week, Keegan?
Yeah, I do want to come on next week.
No, you don't. I can assure you, no, you don't.
Oh, no, he'll be fine. But anyway, obviously you're down in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
What was just your first impressions walking onto the field, seeing everything set up? Just, kind of take us through, just kind of like what you did when you got there, who you talked to before things got started, just along those lines.
Well, I think the Big 12 is making it very clear that they want to be like the most interesting conference in the country. Because, and I told Mo this, but the SEC is doing theirs at a Hyatt in Nashville. Pac-12 is at some resort in Vegas. And the Big 12 gets Jerry World. And they got this huge setup all on the field, cameras everywhere, huge podium, got mannequins with jerseys on them. Walking the field was surreal because I'd been to a couple Big Ten basketball media days. I never did a football at Lucas Oil, but it's just a completely different setting. I mean, that stadium is like, he called it one of the best venues in the country, but I think it rivals some of the best in the world with just the size, the aesthetic of it and everything. But yeah, so I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. I talked to Neil and Ryan, who were there on the UC beat, Justin, Scott, and Jim Kelly is there. So that was really good to talk to all of them. But it was an exciting day. I'm wiped, but I am extremely excited for tomorrow because that's the important day.
Keep going.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Sorry, there's like a bug playing on my face. It definitely.
I thought you had to, like. I thought you were like in control. Like you just jumped in and took off. I didn't expect you to slam the brakes on.
No, sorry, trying to kill a bug, but no, like seeing pictures and video. I mean, they're certainly like, making it a production, which is not a surprise. I mean, Brett Yormark has a professional background, has a big game feel to him. But it's certainly, and it's just funny, like from our standpoint, covering UC for so long, like the AAC, original AAC Media Day in Newport, Newport, Rhode Island, definitely had a special vibe to it. I mean, it's a total opposite. You're having a clam bake and a lobster boil on the beach, basically, and that's very cool in and of itself. But like I said, you're on the field. Big Ten is at Lucas Oil and Indy. So like you're seeing like these are like the premier conferences from a media day standpoint. Like they're wanting to, this is football, and they do it well. I mean all the tables set up, all the different spots for interviews and quickie quotes and stuff like that. I mean, you can really get a lot of information from these coaches and putting them on ESPNU. Also having a separate feed for the coach interview portion. It's just for UC fans and, for us, especially like covering the team, it is a wild breath of fresh air, not having to like hope that someone goes to Rhode Island or wherever and asks some questions about it's just a totally different atmosphere. What did you think of Commissioner Yormark, his stage presence? I mean, he was doing the whole like, Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, like walk and talk. We're, introducing Microsoft 95, type thing. That was a new one for me. Seeing a guy just freewheeling it like that. But he is definitely he kind of embodies that whole mentality though. I mean, he is charismatic, he's honest, he's transparent, like just things you don't typically see from, your 65-year-old conference commissioner.
Yeah, and coming from covering Kevin Warren to this is a completely like different planet. Kevin Warren could not have been more robotic, could not have been more tightened up professional. When they put the stage up and they had the podium over to the left where the moderator was, and they had two seats where they did the sit down. I think her name was Chris Budden. I think that's who he did the sit down with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is he going to stand? Is he going to stand in the corner? And then he's just got a sheet and he's just walking back and forth like he's in Wolf of Wall Street, with a microphone tied to his tie. And it was extremely refreshing. And you picked up on it, David, on the Twitter. But when he was asked about them being open for business, and then he said, strength in numbers. It was strength in numbers. He was asked about strength in numbers, and he said, I did say that. And I walked that back a little bit, like that's something I probably shouldn't have said. That's something you just don't see from these people that try to be like as perfect as possible, deflect, nothing means anything ever. So the whole Gen Z targeting thing is extremely interesting to me. The trip to Mexico next December is going to be really cool. Halftime show for the championship game is really interesting. Don't know who that artist is yet, but he is dead set on the Big 12 becoming the best conference in college sports, and they already are for basketball. Now it's going to be a result-oriented thing for that, so you have to beat Alabama and Georgia, which is a different story. But he's been called an innovator by all the coaches, and Gundy was open at that, saying he's the most innovative commissioner probably in all of sports right now. So he was extremely interesting. I loved everything he had to say and how he said it.
How's your crip walk? Is your crip walk good?
Mine?
Yeah.
Who did you say it was going to be?
Your sea walk?
I didn't say anybody. I just asked how your sea walk was.
Well, I thought it should be Project Pat to rub it in Memphis's face.
Because you're vindictive.
I am. But what was I going to say? But yeah, I mean, because of the size of the fan bases, they're probably never going to catch the Big Ten or the SEC. But like, you can carve out a really nice spot being right behind them, and hopefully your teams have to, step up and do the heavy lifting. You can say all you want and be as innovative as you want, but
Power six.
Well, UC stepped up and held up there at the bargain, and that didn't matter. So I mean, that's my point. It's like, like, but no, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Like, not everything is going to be a hit. I mean, I think the Mexico rollout was pretty clumsy, and they've kind of since cleaned that up, because when it first came out, there was a lot of question, like, is he talking about like having a regular season football game there and someone's going to lose a home game? And so it then morphed into, no, it's going to be a bowl game down the road and then some non-conference basketball games. So I think, it's all a learning process, especially when you have someone in trying to, upset the apple cart, so to speak, of like, we're going to try all these things, and you guys have never even thought about doing this stuff. And some of it might be messy, some of it might not work out well, but I mean, just the few things that they've done already have been pretty darn successful, in at least in my opinion. And I'm not even the person that they're really trying to target.
Yeah. I don't want to open up too much of a can of worms here, but and you guys have probably talked about it, but if they were to get Oregon and Utah, do you think they could possibly end up topping the Big Ten?
No.
I mean, the Big Ten.
Too many land grant, giant state universities no.
Okay.
There's not really in the realm of possibility.
There's just decades and decades of equity already built up, and with an Ohio State, with a Michigan, with a Penn State, even in Nebraska, that on the field we would be like, well, they're not top of the line, but I mean, their fan support and their power in that world is bigger than anybody that'll be left in the Big 12. So I don't think so. It's hard, like some schools out west aren't going to fix that, but that's not. I don't even think that's, like he said. He said, like, I'm not really looking at it from a ranking standpoint. Like, we're just trying to be the best that we can be, and move our league as forward and as innovative as we can be. And if that means then we get into the consciousness of more people, then great. So he pretty much, I mean, he definitely tiptoed around the whole expansion discussion.
We kind of knew he would today.
I mean, yeah, because like, you have to, as much as we joke and make fun of, like, the Pac-12 is going to get a TV deal done sometime relatively soon. So there's really no reason for him to talk about it anymore, because then they'll make the decision.
I think it would have been baller to just have 2 new mannequins up there,
just without jerseys on them.
No. Like they're here. Like, it's real.
I would have had like just blank mannequins, and people have been like, "What's that?" Like, "Oh, therefore the next team's coming in next year."
No, you just that's how you announce it. You just have like Arizona and Colorado or whatever just up, like,
yeah.
You don't say anything until everybody shows up, and then when they show up, like, what the?
Yeah. So, but no, what was kind of like, it was funny. He talked about how he wasn't going to say anything, and then it was awesome.
And then he said something.
Well, no, it was awesome that the very first question he got was from like the oldest, most established Big 12 media person, and asked him straight away, like, about it. So it was pretty perfect.
Yeah.
What did you think of kind of how much chatter was there about it? What did you think of the way that it was answered? Were people rolling their eyes when he was talking about it? Were people laughing? Like, what was kind of the reaction
about possible expansion?
Yeah, just how he kind of like stomped it down pretty strongly.
Yeah, he didn't stump it down because he said they have a plan. Like,
But I mean, like he didn't, like he said, I'm not going to talk about, like we have a plan, but I hope it happens sooner than later. But like he wasn't like, he kind of not walked it back, but he didn't want to elaborate too much.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, but just the fact that he said they have a plan, I think is really hopeful for me, because he could have just said, you know what, we're not really talking about that right now. We're focused on this season, which is a really exciting season. But he at least signaled that they're working on something, at least. So there's conversations happening. There's the term closed door meetings kept on coming up today. So those are all going on. We know how interesting those are. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to do something absolutely bonkers just based off his personality. And, just being how exciting year one was, I think he's got the fix for just trying to do as much crazy stuff as possible. So I'm really excited 2-3 years down the road to see like who could possibly be in the conference, who could be heading to the conference. It's going to be exciting.
So we had, I'm trying to think offhand. You had TCU, Houston, Texas, Baylor, BYU, and Oklahoma State today. Is that all of them? 7? Kansas. Can we talk real quick? Can we talk about how aggressive Kansas's font is on their uniforms?
Yeah,
like what are you doing? Like
it's like 10 times the size of the Cincinnati on the prototype.
It is. It's like, hey, if you're on one of the NASA shuttles, you'll be able to tell who's playing in this game because it says Kansas.
The Michigan State uniforms. It goes underneath the armpit.
What if their name? What if the word was like Alabama and had a few more letters? Like, what would they have done then?
And
it was pretty crazy. But
anyway. I like those uniforms though. But the lettering's too big.
So you saw all these coaches. You listened to. I assume you listened to all of them. Any of them in particularly jump out to you with comments related or not related to UC? Just like in general.
Well, I think the interesting thing was a lot of people were like, oh, there's 4 new teams. A lot of people was going to talk about it. That's going to be the main topic. But the main topic was everyone being pissed at Oklahoma and Texas. And, I mean, there is no other option for, like, people that stick out than Mike Gundy. One, he said Cincinnati was in the Northeast, which is just factually incorrect. Like, that's not even close to being right.
I like
but
that.
No, see, here's the thing, though. That is the Northeast to him. It is north and east
of Iowa and up.
Yeah, it is north and east of Stillwater, Oklahoma. So to him, that is the Northeast.
There's more northeast to go, but that is
right.
Directionally correct.
Cincinnati is northeast.
Directionally correct.
He wears a mullet because he wants to. Cincinnati is as northeast as it gets. That's the northeastest he's ever been.
I mean, next year when he gets off that plane in Kentucky, he's going to be like, "These are my people."
But
what do you mean we're in Kentucky?
He was asked about Bedlam multiple times, like 4 to 5 times, and everything he said is, "That's Oklahoma's fault. I have nothing to do with that. They decided to leave."
That's a silver platter for him. Like he'll talk. If you want to get him going, that's just ask him about that.
Thrifty Walrus is exactly correct. In Gundy's mind, if you're north of the Ohio River and east of the Mississippi River, you are in fact northeast.
But Gundy was asked about Bedlam, and he just kept on like not holding back anything on just roasting Oklahoma. Because apparently they want to try to pursue some non-conference thing, and Gundy's like, "We're booked until 2037." So the likelihood that there's going to be another Bedlam game is not high at all, and that's completely their fault because they wanted to leave. We didn't have anything to do with it.
I don't blame him. I mean, obviously there are teams that have these intra-conference rivalries still. It does. If the Big 12 though is going to play 9 conference games, I get it from his standpoint. Like the SEC still plays 8, so. Yeah, the Kentucky Louisville thing works. The Georgia Tech works. The Clemson South Carolina. Like, if you're going to play 9, if I'm Oklahoma State, I'm not like trying to make that one of my non-conference games every year. So I get it. Any good comments from Dana Or I saw Sonny Dykes was saying that they should, with all the players that they lost, we should have been, we could have been rated like ranked even lower. I'm like, oh, cry me a river. Like,
yeah, he answered a question about like TCU being one and done, and some kid was like, I'm seeing on Twitter that TCU might be a like one hit wonder team, and he just immediately said, yeah, I've seen it.
I agree.
You should have asked him, Sonny, whatever happened to episode 12 of The Hill when you were at SMU?
I forgot about that. I asked him, and that was another funny thing. I asked him, your time at SMU, what's special about UC, the fan base, what are they going to bring to the Big 12? And he said, every coach that coaches there in the last 20, 25 years wins. Like, they always win. It doesn't matter what they do. They find success and win. And then people are like, Tommy Tuberville coached there rather recently.
Yeah.
So I don't think. But
I mean, he still won 2 conference championships. He won.
Maybe it's just how bad it ended. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dykes was good. Leopold was good. He made a good comment about coaching in the MAC and knowing like the whole recruiting Ohio thing, getting familiar with the area, so he knows the vast amount of talent that Cincinnati can tap into around that area. And then the other one I spoke to was Gundy. So geography, excitement, and the recruiting pool. So I'm interested to see like the fan bases react to all the Big 12 schools. This is the new norm of having to watch BYU and Oklahoma State consistently. I think that's one of the more exciting things about the switch is you're not watching subpar.
How are our friends from Middle Florida?
There's a lot of media there.
Did they ask good questions?
Not necessarily. It was kind of similar to what I was asking, just trying to get comments on what they think about UC, like what are their expectations. But nothing too major. The best questions were Justin asked Sarkeesian if NIL and the transfer portal was good for college football, and he's like, I don't know, you tell me. So he wasn't too excited about answering expansion questions. So
did you ask anyone their thoughts on Skyline?
No, I did not.
That's a miss on your part.
I did not, because I don't write for Bleacher Report.
GMAC wants to know if we can go to media days next year and go live throughout those days. Only all-day option was Monty Show, and they seem to think Cincinnati's a program couldn't ever compete in the Pac-12. I don't know why they would compete in the Pac-12.
Who is Monty Show?
No idea.
Okay.
They had Radio Row set up and a bunch of series.
Yeah, we could have been there broadcasting live.
That's what Mo said. Like, I wonder if they'll invite me, like, jokingly, like, they won't offer him an invite, but I'm like, yeah, you can go to media days and set up a booth.
I mean, in looking at, I've looked at, like, Airbnb Verbo prices down there. Like, we could get a BCJ house.
I have a free place to stay.
That all of us could go and stay.
Yes.
They have like 8 bedrooms in the house.
Yes, and they just put in a we'll put say 6-figure pool with outdoor kitchen and entertainment center.
Okay, then tell them we're coming next year.
Give them 365 days notice.
Yeah, we're coming next year, and we'll broadcast from down there. You said you had a free house. I thought you meant like I have a house for me to go and stay at my friend's house. Like
I do. But they have several they have several accommodations available.
You did not inform me of that part.
I can also sleep on the ground or on the couch.
So
yeah, you're young. You can sleep on a lounger.
You're definitely not good. You definitely wouldn't get a bed. I mean, come on. But so what are you
Did Dana have a Red Bull and vodka with him?
No.
That's too bad.
No.
What
he looked like he might have had a few the night before, but no, he didn't.
Well, that's 100% certain. What are you going to be asking Coach Satterfield tomorrow?
I've had so many ideas go through my head that I can't even.
Have you called Ben Bryant?
No, I'm not going to ask him that. Probably just. I don't think he's spoken on Emory since I don't know if he's officially the starter, but I would say him going to Big 12 Media Days says he's a starter. I asked about Emory. Just the reaction.
You're going to ask him what it's like to be a coach of a defensive first program.
Is that it? Do you want me to
Coach, you love offense. What's it like being the head coach of a place where defense is first?
I'll do that. I'll ask that.
I have one for you.
Go ahead. I'll write him down on my Whataburger receipt.
Since he's done the whole App State like transition from FCS to Division I, and he's been at another Power 5, and they're now going to a Power 5. I'm interested to know, now that he's been here, gone through spring practice, gone through summer workouts, how does he feel the roster as a whole based on his previous experience at Louisville and based on making the jump from while he was at App State up a level in competition? How does he feel the roster is right now from does he like where it's at? And what positions does he feel like they still need to grow to be able to compete week in and week out in the Big 12? Because we really haven't got he had some media availability at spring, but they're in practice and we're talking about things that happen. We're not really talking about the team and the roster as it relates to the season. And now that the schedule's out, I'm interested to know his thought. And I'm sure he's not going to be oh man, the whatever room is terrible. I wish I could get rid of all those guys. But just curious, how, because he's been pretty transparent and open so far.
Really long question, Dave.
In his 10, no, that's not the question. I mean, I gave him the question.
There were a few today that keep on going.
Are you still writing, Keegan?
No.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He's not. No, that's all. I'm sure you'll ask several good ones.
Yeah, I don't want to do too much forecasting what I'm going to say. I want to do a decent amount, but what they say, I want to try to guide my questioning and try to get reactionary questions. So, but it's going to be a lot of.
You'll be able to ask more questions than you did today.
Yeah, because the breakouts, I mean, he sits there for 30 to 45 minutes at a table, and I'm going to be one of maybe 10 people there, and I'm going to.
Yeah, so take us through that. So what we could see, if you were watching on TV or watching online, the coach would talk to the ESPN crew first, Andre Ware, Dusty Dvorak, Chris Budden on their set. Then they would go to the main stage and talk to the assembled press while the players then would talk to the ESPN people. And then after that, was that when they kind of then would go off stage and you could get them probably more specific to their media group?
It was behind the podium. They had tables with backdrops of the team set up. So there would be a player at one table, and then there'd be the coach, and you could do whatever. And then the coach would stay there the whole time, and then the players would kind of rotate in and out based on who was there and how many they had. But that's where I talked to Sonny Dykes. And then, so it was not very well organized because they make clear that the coaches have a press conference on the field, but they never say anything about the media talking to the players. So the team breakouts is the players and the coaches. And then when they talk on the podium, and then they go down and there's a 5 to 10 minute scrum right next to the podium for more questions. And then everyone's doing the breakouts at the same time for an hour. But that starts after the last coach's press conference.
So what it kind of feels, so you have to then choose once Scott is done on the main stage, do you then have to choose whether you want to talk to him more or the players, or do you have time to talk to him and talk to all? I guess it's what, three? They brought 3 or 4 players.
4.
Players.
That's just up to my discretion. I have to see what I'm going to get. I have to prioritize who I want to hear from, the topics that I want to cover. Filming that is going to be interesting, but the priority is Satterfield because he would have the most interesting and most authoritative things to say. But yeah, so that's all my discretion. I can listen in while the players are talking, but yeah, I'll have multiple hands and multiple things.
Well, that's like we said. That's why Chad pays you the big bucks.
The big bucks. I love it. I'm seriously having way too much fun. Like, it's crazy.
I mean,
he only got to go because he sent me a really low ball number that he needed to survive in Dallas. I was like, what do you need? He was like $37.50 and I can go. And I was like, great. What's your Venmo?
Jeffrey asked what players are at the media days. Emory Jones, Dante Corleone, Deshaun Pace, and Juwan Briggs, right?
Yes.
Hi, Ed.
How many bags of Old Trapper beef jerky did you take?
I didn't take any because it wasn't clear that we were allowed to take them or give them out. Or they were doing it.
That is the true sign of a media person, is if it's free, they are all over it. Cheapest damn people ever.
Yeah, there were some people being separated. There were some elbows flying, but nothing too major. Not the worst I've seen.
Like, and stop. Did you fly or drive?
What?
Did you fly or drive?
Oh, I flew Frontier. And the dude in the seat next to me ordered a shrimp-flavored cup of noodles halfway through the flight and ate the soup on the flight right next to me.
They have that as an option on an airplane?
Here, the stewardess just comes over and just hands it to him with a napkin. And opens it.
Reason number 480 why Frontier's the worst.
I will never do it again, dude. The charges for seats and bags.
You didn't know about the charges?
No, that's Spirit. And Frontier, there's like a charge if you want to. There's a charge if you want to be able to sit down. There's a charge if you want to get on the plane.
Yeah, they have
Stupid.
So my brother flew Frontier from Vegas here for my son's birthday, and your carry-on count, like your personal bag counts. You get that for free, but it has to fit in a very specific box. And if it doesn't, it's $100. Just boom. So he just had a backpack, and he was like, "Yeah, I made it work." But he's like, "Yeah, people were so pissed. They got there and they're measuring their bags. And they're like, nope, that's too big. That's $100." And they're like, they had no idea what was going on. He was like, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So that was you?
No, that was not me. My bags were fine.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say Chad's gonna get the bill for the checked bags.
No.
That wasn't in the estimate.
In the proposal.
Yeah, that wasn't in the proposal.
Ricky
He didn't say he needed $137.50.
So obviously your main focus is on UC tomorrow. Is there anybody else you're interested in hearing from, or is it pretty much just all Bearcats tomorrow?
Ask the Central Florida guys if they've ever interned at the front desk of a Howard Johnson.
Okay. I'll do that.
Really, this is why I don't go, because I would ask all of them. So, is your major hospitality management, and if not, why?
What is hospitality management? That's being a good person.
That's the number one.
No, it's like working in the service industry, working at a hotel, working at a restaurant.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's why we always make the Howard Johnson jokes.
Half the majors of Mick Cronin's best basketball teams were always criminal justice.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So
We were all training to be like forensic pathologists for the FBI.
They're going to be on Criminal Minds.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
look. Anthony McBride is in the Secret Service.
Brian Johnson, you must have missed last week's podcast because I specifically talked about a Howard Johnson in Reno, Nevada, that for the NCAA tournament next year is $8 a night.
Comes with free bed bugs.
I think it comes with more than that.
And herpes.
But yes, we talked about the Hojo last night or last week, in fact. So
yeah. Is that
I
Will? I see Will.
Will.
Yeah, other way.
He's in bed.
Are you sure?
Yeah, did he just come down the stairs?
I think so.
I don't see him.
There he is. I saw him. I saw
check the stairs. There's people coming down your stairs. If it's not Will, something's happening.
What are you doing? You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Will.
All right. Say hi.
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 Will, where's your shirt? Where's your shirt?
All right. Time for bed. All right. Bye.
That's a proper response.
Will, you don't live in Covington. Where's your shirt?
It's bedtime. There's no jammies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to hearing from Venables. I think that'll be interesting. Malzahn, obviously. I don't know what else. I don't know who else.
I feel like who's tomorrow? Matt Campbell.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I like Matt Campbell.
Ask Matt Campbell if he's glad Fickle's not in Ohio anymore.
Chris Kleiman. You got all the good you got most of the Joey McGuire should be. He seems like he's got some personality.
I heard the BYU guy was all kinds of personality today.
Yeah, he was on the stage and there was like literally a minute-long pause of no one is like wanted to ask a question. And I'm the moderator. I'm like, dude, this is like 5 seconds of silence. And then you say you're done. Okay, just get off the stage. And then he goes, is everybody done? All right, can we all go eat somewhere? Because I'm really hungry. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a lineman.
Yeah, someone asked a question, then he was up there for 10 more minutes. So
that's when you ask him, like, are you buying? Because if you're buying,
yeah,
I'm going.
Neil Brown, you can ask him, like, what's it feel to be on the hot seat? You know, but UC fans are very excited to renew our rivalry with West Virginia. Will you still be the coach November 18th?
Just ask Matt Campbell, like, okay, be honest. Were you like that close to coaching Cincinnati? And how awkward would that have been if you were the coach of Cincinnati?
Now, ask him about the football camp that he allowed Luke Fickle's son to sign up. He tried to host a satellite camp in Cincinnati. He allowed Luke Fickle's son to sign up for the camp. So then Luke Fickle showed up at the camp with 4 former UC offensive linemen, all dressed in black, and just stood on the track at the high school. And after the camp was over, all the kids that were local, that were high major prospects, came over and talked to Luke. Ask him about
the
that
David
game.
Montgomery reach isn't that far. Like, that's kind of crazy. That's funny.
All right. Well, did you eat your dinner already, or are we holding you up from eating your dinner?
I haven't eaten my dinner. Have I gotten up from the seat?
I don't know. All right. Well, we'll let you go then.
I can stay
Is
on.
it there? Is it
No,
like at the door?
No, I scheduled it from 8:30 to.
Oh, okay. I was hoping that it wasn't just sitting outside of your hotel room door waiting for you to.
You went Airbnb instead of hotel, right?
Way cheaper. I always go Airbnb. It's like a suite and it's cheaper.
Right.
So,
And you don't feel like you're in a hotel.
exactly.
I agree. I'm of the same.
Free Netflix on all the TVs all the time.
if you want to invite strippers over, you don't have to like feel the awkward walking through the lobby.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I hope
No!
you're watching. I'm just kidding. I didn't put extra money in the budget for that. Trust me, it's fine.
Oh man, oh man, oh man.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else, Dave.
Well, you already you did a wonderful feature on Emory Jones, by the way. So if you
talk about let's talk about that.
Give us some more scoop. Give us some more scoop on your conversations with Emory
and his family, his coaches.
Yeah, Emory was absolutely a quarter of like my interviews, and I mean that to say that like his mom made that story. Trina was so awesome talking to me, and she's so clearly had an impact on Emory and everyone around him that like he's the man he is today because she raised him the right way. Coach Barron had an awesome quote, and it was talking about how humble Emory was, and he's like, you're living in a city with one red light and you have like 20 D1 Power 5 offers because you're a 4-star, and you're just another teammate to you. It wasn't like walking around with his chest puffed up or anything. He's just another dude, and because he values the team and he values his teammates. So it was a really great experience. I loved writing it. I feel like I learned a lot about Emory and how he came up, why he's good, what he wants to do this year, why he came to Cincinnati. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch him. I know you guys have probably talked about it. It depends on which Emory Jones we get, but I mean, they could be 3-9 or 9-3. I think that's what you said on Off the Bench, Chad, Tom Brenneman. But
4-8 to 8-4.
4-8.
3 would be pretty confident they're going to beat Eastern Kentucky and Miami. If they go 3-9, things went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
wrong.
I'm hopeful. I'm probably, I fully understand that, especially at Arizona State, things did not go probably anywhere near the way he hoped, wanted, anticipated. But I also have to kind of couch that with the pure fact that he is a 6th-year guy that has never really had like a true like badass season. And is that it can't be all on like Dan Mullen not giving a shit about recruiting his at the end of his time at Florida and them having like less talent around him. And it can't all be on Herm Edwards and the mess that was Arizona State. So, like, does Scott Satterfield and the way he runs his offense, does that help him elevate his game a little bit? Like, where do the improvements in his game come from a 6th-year guy? You kind of know what you're getting at this point in a college player's career. Where does that improvement come from? Does the offensive line and the wide receiver room uncertainty, does that hinder it? Can he be an elevator? Like, there's a lot of questions. They're going to have to score points. I mean, every team in the Big 12 last year besides West Virginia scored at least 30 a game. So the defense can be really good. And if you're giving up 24, 27, 31 points a game, and that can still be pretty good, but it doesn't mean jack if we can't score more than 20 or 24 points. So yeah, there's a lot of questions. He seems like he's the right kind of guy. He seems like a good fit for the offense. But I kind of got to see it just because of, we haven't really seen it yet. And you don't typically see a guy on his 3rd stop in his 6th year just all of a sudden become like, a top tier quarterback in a Power 5 conference.
Yeah, I love the fit. I think that's checking a box that Satterfield has a quarterback that he likes, and Emery said it was the recommendation of Malik Cunningham that really sold him on Cincinnati. But I mean, I get what you're saying about it can't all be on Mullen and Edwards, but you know, the 2 years that he's had complete control of the offense as a quarterback, both the coaches have been on the hot seat. One was fired during the season, one like the day after, basically.
Right.
So that definitely has an impact on the locker room and the psyche of the team. Is like, you know, some stuff's about to go down. If we don't start winning, someone's going to get fired. This time around, in his 6th year, there's a sense of like freedom that he has to have, knowing that he has nowhere to go or nowhere to turn. Like you're at Cincinnati and then you're done. So Coach Barron, his old high school coach, told me that he always felt that he had to be the guy, and he put way too much pressure on him. And he said that quarterbacks don't thrive under pressure, and that his expectations are way higher. So if he can just play free, and I think he's in a good situation now. His mom told me, and I didn't put this in the story, but his mom told me at Arizona State, he still looked at his playbook from Florida and tried to implement stuff from Florida at Arizona State because of how different the game was and how different they played. So he wasn't used to it at all at Arizona State, and he tried to go back to what he had at Florida a little bit. But now I think, look, he told me Satterfield lets his guys go. So if he can just play freely and play confidently, I think we could see the 4/5-star Emory Jones that was recruited out of Heard County.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a much more innovative and I think a much better sequential play caller in Scott Satterfield and his offense. I mean, say whatever we want about Louisville and their overall record and his time there, but they're the only team in the country to average 200 yards passing and 200 yards rushing in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not, by no means am I saying that it's going to be 5 in a row. I mean, there's a lot of questions, especially on the O-line. I think the wide receiver room is maybe a little bit better than assuming guys stay healthy. I think it's very top heavy, but I think they do have some targets there that can make a difference. But you know, I like you said, and like I think the fit is really, really good. It's just a matter of like how much does that help him, and how much does not kind of having all the other stuff going on around you impact your play and your whole team's play. Because you know, he might have been doing the right thing 9 out of 10 plays, but other guys might have been the issue, and we don't know that because I didn't follow Florida, certainly didn't follow the disaster that was Arizona State under Herm Edwards. So, you know, we'll see. I obviously hope so, because I think it's going to be kind of the make or break thing. You know, I don't think Pitt's always going to have a good defense, but like the beginning of the schedule sets up pretty nice for him to get his feet under him and then to get in a rhythm. Like Oklahoma and BYU, neither of those two have really daunting defenses, or at least they didn't last year. So then you get a bye week and then you get Iowa State. That'll be a challenge in Baylor, but well, you know, I wish him well, because I don't think, as much as excited as we are about the Bradys, I don't think either of them are ready to step into this type of a situation. So, you know, hopefully Emory can grab hold of it and be successful and doesn't force their hand to make a move.
Yeah.
Keegan, important. What size bed did you book at this Airbnb? Queen? Get a queen?
I think it's
Get
just a full.
A full?
I think it's just a full.
Yeah, that's not like you're kind of a big guy, bigger guy.
I'm 6 foot 200.
Yeah, that's not. You need a queen, son.
No, I do not. I could sleep in a twin. I'm fine. I don't have
Keegan, what you could do and what you want to do should be two different things. Like, I could sleep in a single. I'm 5'7". I would not sleep in a bed smaller than a king.
I have low standards for that. I want a pillow.
Oh, to be 23 again. Oh,
Yeah,
it'll be 23 again.
The size
All right,
of it impacts how you feel when you wake
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
I'd have been looking for a house with a pool and all sorts of stuff.
Again, I only asked for $37, so I can't cash out too much.
Well, that's that. Again, you should ask. You're the best for more.
All right,
All
man.
right.
Good work today. We will,
Thank you.
we will
We'll-
catch you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm all excited to check out what you got for us tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Appreciate you, man. All right, there you go. That was Keegan Nickerson. That is the first BCJ timestamp. We got a new sponsor, Dave. Are you excited? The new
I'm
sponsor
extremely
is
excited.
Turtles Brew. It is it's a bourbon infused sweet tea. It comes in cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. It's sold at 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. 6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten free. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and the locations that you can find to buy. They're also in Toledo and expanding now in Central Ohio. So check out the website. You can find out everywhere to get it. And guess what, Dave? A portion of the proceeds go to save the sea turtles.
Well, I'm all about that.
You're not a big bourbon guy, are you?
I mean, I kind of like to spread the love, you know.
Okay. That's what I like to hear.
If it's delicious, I'll drink it.
All right, it's time to get this show rolling in a different direction. Before we do that, it is the Big 12 preview, the Big 12 look ahead, and that's brought to you by Team Ticker. Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcats fans. Its high-tech retro display provides daily updates of all the latest news, stats, schedules, betting odds, and much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave, a gift for that special Bearcats fan, or if you're getting ready to send your youngster to UC, nothing would look better in their dorm room, their apartment, you name it, than the Team Ticker. These things are awesome. It's a local company started by 2 UC alumni. It's easy to hang. It plays the fight song at game time. It's got LED backlighting so it stands out. And it's officially licensed through the Collegiate Licensing Company and manufactured right here in Ohio. Get yourself one of these bad boys at teamticker.com. All right, let's keep it rolling. We've got a guest, McLean Baxley, who is covering Oklahoma State. McLean, sorry you had to sit through all the paying the bills portion, but we appreciate you joining us. How are you?
Doing good. Trying to stay cool.
Is it a hot one down there?
It is it's 8 o'clock, and it is about 105 degrees here in Arlington, Texas. It is ridiculous.
Disgusting. But thank you. I know you had a busy day since Coach Gundy spoke today. What was your first impressions of him on the dais? And it seemed like everybody threw him a nice softball, just said, talk about Bedlam, and he went at it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest. I think he came here with 3 talking points. The first one, talk about Bedlam and how it's all Oklahoma's fault. Talking about how it was their choice to leave for the SEC. It was their choice to end any rivalries or conference ties with the current Big 12 members. So that was one point. The second point was to talk about the transfer portal and how it's changing and he's got to change with it, and he's trying his best. And the third one was NIL, which he didn't talk about as much, but he definitely got some key points in there. But no, I thought he was fine, and I thought he's very lax in this era of the Mike Gundy, of this chapter of the Mike Gundy era, and very lax and definitely excited for the season. And I think he's kind of hopeful, but also kind of uncertain of what's going to happen with both his team and the others in the conference.
Yeah, I want to ask because Oklahoma State got off to a really good start last year, 6-1, and then they had some injuries, and it just seemed like things got real weird. What's kind of the vibe around the program, around the fan base right now? going into what I think year 19 of his career, and he's never had a losing season. So like, what is everybody thinking right now?
Yeah, so this is year 19, and he's been to a bowl game in the last 17 years. The
That's
one
right.
year he missed was his first season as head coach. So, there's that expectation of like, we're going to make a bowl game. Sure. And when the rankings came, or the preseason rankings came out last week, slotted 7th, middle of the pack. I think that's kind of where a lot of media people and a lot of, fans kind of expected it to be. They have a pretty new team. I think I saw where 41% of the team is new. Whether by transfer portal or by JUCO or by high school recruiting. So a lot of uncertainty around the team. And a lot of those new guys are in key roles. Alan Bowman is the expected starting quarterback. He was at Texas Tech and then Michigan and now in Stillwater. So I think the expectation is like do good, and if we do good, then maybe we can have a great season. Because I talked with receiver Brendan Presley about last season about how they started 6-1 and then made a bowl game and that's about as good as they could get. And I asked him like, now that you've had time to think about it and look at what went wrong, what did go wrong, he said it just a lot of things, injuries, teams got better as the season went on and they didn't, and so now it's a new season, and I think the players and coach and fans are kind of excited to see how good this team can be, and with the expectation of we're going to make a bowl game. We know that it's kind of a given until proven otherwise. So I think expectations are good enough, and there's no expectation of a college football playoff run, I don't think, right now. But I mean, a lot of times when they did make BCS runs in the past, those were kind of unexpected. So we'll see how they can do.
McLean, real quick, Dave, just take UC fans through how narrow the margin for error is in this conference, because it feels like there are teams every year. TCU last year predicted 7th. Oklahoma State, when they were playing in the championship game, was predicted down in the bottom half of the conference. You see Texas every year is predicted to be near the top, and they finish in the middle. Like, how thin is the margin for error in this conference, and how critical is it to be a good fourth quarter team if you're going to win in this league? Because it feels like every game is decided in the final 5 minutes.
I mean, I think looking across the landscape of college football, the Big 12 definitely has the most parity. I mean, we saw several people were talking about it today where the last three Big 12 championships have featured 6 different teams, and none of those were Texas. And so obviously like you said, Texas, Oklahoma, K-State are probably the 3 favorites. But will those 2 of those 3 be playing here in December on December 2nd in Cowboy Stadium? Probably not, just based on how history's gone the past 10 years or so. I mean, from 1 to 14, I don't know how big of a margin of difference there is as far as looking at the roster, looking at what they came back, look at last year or 2 years ago, results and everything. It's a very slim margin versus where you look at the SEC, where there's 1 great team, 2 or 3 good teams, and then decent teams, and then Vanderbilt. So whereas in Big 12, I don't think there's a really team that's very clear in a way the favorite versus very clear in a way the worst team in the conference, which I think makes for fun Saturday afternoons and perhaps Thursday and Friday nights, as the commissioner talked about today.
I was really hoping he took a shot at Tennessee there, Dave, but he didn't. He took a shot at
Tennessee's back, baby. We're paying $8 million for quarterbacks. Like, come on, we can't take shots at us anymore.
I don't know. I was at the Georgia-Tennessee game last season when Tennessee came in rolling hot, and they didn't score till the second half.
They just beat Alabama. The rest of the season was gravy. 19 transfers out, which is a big number for a program that did not have a coaching change. When you talk to people around the program, like, is there a theme as to why that happened, or is it just the transfer portal now?
I think it's the transfer portal, and obviously, a couple of, all the players were asked about guys that had left, especially because some of them stayed several of the guys that transferred out stayed in conference or went to Tulsa, right down the road and stuff. And I mean, I think it's just the nature of the game, truthfully. And I know it's kind of coach speak, but I mean, a lot of teams dealt with this. Obviously, they didn't have as many as Oklahoma State was in the top 10 for most guys leaving. But I mean, even there were guys on, Georgia and TCU and teams that, had good seasons last year, and guys that were contributors at different teams just go test the waters. And some of them came back to those schools, and some of them ended up leaving for good. I just think it's the nature of college football. And I think Gundy's a little more, if you leave, you're leaving than other coaches might be about, whether that's loyalty or whether that's, I like you or not. But yeah, I mean, it is something that I think we'll continue to see throughout college football over the next until something else changes or there's a limit or something that kind of negates that. But I think for the time being, that's just going to be how it is. I mean, there's kids that are entering the transfer portal after August camp, and then there's also kids that are entering it after all the way past the spring game in April, May. So it's the trend of where college football is now for sure.
You mentioned Alan Bowman earlier, transferred in from Michigan after spending some time at Texas Tech. Me watching from afar, I kind of assumed he was the starter. Coach Gundy kind of sidestepped that a bit today. Didn't really call out any quarterback by name, I don't think, in anything that I saw him talk about. Is your expectation that he'll be the starter? And how does it sound like things have been going? Because I mean, he kind of really hasn't done much for 2 years. So what have you kind of heard as far as him? Is he inside firmly the starter, or is this still kind of competition as we go to a real competition as we head into August?
Yeah, so I asked receiver Brennan Presley and then lineman Preston Wilson about Bowman, and Presley and several other receivers went out with Bowman out to California earlier this summer to throw and run routes. And I'm not sure if you would go halfway across the country to go throw routes if you're catching them from the backup. And whereas Preston Wilson said he led with Bowman, but he also did mention Gunnar Gundy and Rangel there as other options, and he kind of talked a little bit more about how it's different, snapping and blocking for different quarterbacks. And like you said, Gundy didn't say any quarterback. He didn't say Alan Bowman's name. He didn't say Gunnar Gundy. He didn't say the other guy. But yeah, I think it's pretty assumed that Alan Bowman, he's a 6-year guy. He's 23 years old. Comes in, he like you said, it's a weird case because he did have success for the Red Raiders in Lubbock, and then took a year, 2 years off at Michigan and rode the bench. Didn't really see much action there, and now he's coming in as a starter for another Power 5 team. And I've gotten plenty of offseason questions about the rarity of that, and it is just very odd. And it's a kid that's using his the transfer portal to his success or to his advantage. And I think he's thinking it will play off, and he'll have a good season here. Under Casey Dunn and Tim Rade and under Gundy, and have a good successful season working with these receivers as much as he can in the off season. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, I'm pretty confident in saying that Alan Bowman is likely going to be the starter there against Central Arkansas in September.
Besides him, we have to look at the portal additions so much more now when trying to figure out if teams are going to be good or not. Who are some of the other guys that they brought in that could be instant impact guys, kind of replacing some of the departures that they lost?
I mean, most of the defense and several of the offensive line is two areas of focus. I mean, they lost a lot of defensive talent, both on the defensive line and then at linebacker position. So they've been able to replace those. No guys really stand out. I mean, Bowman is the guy that's kind of stand out, but then on offense, Stratling, he's a receiver from Washington State. He's supposed to come in and he's got really good size, really good raw athleticism, and did well at Washington State. Had several 100 yards last year, and he's going to come in, I think, be kind of that secondary weapon behind Presley there at receiver. And really, I mean, everywhere you look, I mean, because of how many guys left, you look at every position and there's at least one or two guys that is new, whether via the portal or as a high school recruit that are expected to kind of come in and be have roles and contribute to this year's team, whether as a freshman or as a first year transfer and everything. So it's a very odd situation, but it's becoming kind of the norm situation. It feels like.
Oklahoma State has a new defensive coordinator for the second year in a row. Kind of tell us a little bit about the new, because he came from Division II, I believe, and what kind of changes is he making, and what's kind of been the reception to him so far since he's been in Stillwater.
So the biggest thing is they're going to run a 3-3-5 scheme there on defense, and obviously that affects the defensive line and kind of that middle ground, with linebackers and kind of touching the secondary, and talking with some obviously in the recruiting game, he recruits love him, and most of their successes have come from on the defensive side of the ball, and then Corey Black, cornerback. Talked highly of him. Colin Oliver, another all conference guy that they expected to do well again this year. They were highly complimentary towards him, and he's had an impact for sure, especially given he hasn't been here a full off season really. I think it was around January when they officially hired him and made it official, and so he's had a pretty big impact, and especially with the way that they run things in that scheme. Both Oliver and Black said it's not gonna be a huge change other than how they approach rushing the quarterback, but at cornerback he's still gonna have to guard guys on the outside and deep in the secondary, but that's where his impact can be very crucial. And but based off of talking with players and future players and Gundy, they were all very complimentary and receptive to the changes that he's been making.
So it was perfect timing when I was trying to figure out who we were going to have on this week as our Big 12 guest when I saw that you picked the Bearcats 9th in the Big 12 poll. And I was like, well, obviously we have to have McLean on because the guy seems to be higher on UC than anybody else in the Big 12. So is that based on you having a great knowledge of Scott Satterfield's offense, or you just think they're better than the rest of the crappy teams behind them?
Well, I made that pick because I was like, if I make this pick, Bearcat Journal is going to have me on their podcast, right?
Exactly.
No, I mean, we talked about earlier, just the parity, and I've seen them have success in recent years and against Power 5 teams, and you'll get what they're returning, and yeah, I mean, so full transparent, I went to Georgia Southern, I saw how Satterfield's App State teams did against Georgia Southern and against the rest of the Sun Belt and against Power 5 teams in North Carolina, South Carolina, and some of the other schools, Wake Forest, and so yeah, I think he can do well. Given what obviously it's going to be a big jump both for him and for Cincinnati as a whole. Going from the American to the Big 12, but they've played Power 5 schools before. These players, especially, have played against Power 5 and quote unquote big teams before. So it will be an adjustment, but I think it's one that they can handle. And it also goes to just how good / bad the rest of the conference is and is expected to be. And so yeah, I mean they have proven themselves to be a top 10 team in the conference, and until proven otherwise, I like my poll right now.
Hey, we do too.
Big fans.
I think y'all and Kansas fans are very receptive of my
Kansas
of my,
third, right?
poll. Yeah. I don't know if that was just kind of hangover from last year's success they had, or really buying Jalen Daniels, or what.
If he doesn't get hurt last year, I mean, who knows how good of a season they have. But I mean, that's the thing, is like when we did our, nobody asked us, but we did our poll.
No, they did. I think I was in Orlando for volleyball nationals, and we didn't get to do the poll.
I think I put Texas Tech second just because there has been this whole teams that have been picked in that 4 to 7 range end up being in the conference championship game in the last several years. So it's it's who cares? It's a crapshoot. If UC was 13th or 11th or 10th, it's all the same to me. But Chad, you got anything from McLean?
Yeah, I'm just curious with the two teams leaving, is there a sense at Oklahoma State that there is this opportunity to jump up? And I know they're not they're not expected to have a great, a great season this year in terms of competing for the NY6 spot or things of that nature. But Is there this feeling that long term, like we now have this opportunity to plan ourselves at the top of this league?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the past, really under Gundy's thing, they've made, the New Year's Six Bowl a couple years ago and, upset Notre Dame there in the Fiesta Bowl. And then pre-New Year's Six, back when it was still the BCS, they went to the 2011 Fiesta Bowl and beat Andrew Luck and Stanford there out in Arizona. So they've been able to prove that they can compete and make those kind of be the face of the Big 12 on several occasions. And so I think by taking Oklahoma and Texas out, Oklahoma obviously has been to multiple college football playoffs. Texas a couple years ago beat a Georgia team in the Sugar Bowl, so they've shown that they can be the kind of face of the Big 12. I think with them leaving, that opens the door for Oklahoma State. That opens the door for Kansas State, Kansas, Texas Tech. I mean, really, any of these teams can kind of get up on that mantle. But I think Oklahoma State's probably the one that has the most experience of being able to get there and do that under this coaching staff, under Gundy, under Dunn, and a couple other position coaches that they can make that jump and be the team of the Big 12 which they like and which they can be.
I know Cincinnati is organizing some trips to Oklahoma State for the Cincinnati-Oklahoma State game. What can UC fans expect? What do they need? Are there any things that they must do that are on that list when they get to Stillwater?
So this is gonna be my first football season here too. I joined 24/7 in May, and so this will be my first full season in Stillwater. I'm enjoying it so far. Eskimo Joe's is kind of the classic, dive bar, college bar. Their chili cheese fries are legendary, as they were on several Food Network shows, and George W. Bush gave him his stamp of approval. So I mean, there's definitely different restaurants. Hideaway Pizza is a pizza shop that's very local there down in downtown Stillwater. So it's a college town as college town can be. So definitely when fans come down, they'll get a full experience. And there's gonna be black and orange and Go Pokes everywhere.
So you just gave us the places that you go to have beverages since you moved to Stillwater.
I have indeed consumed a beer or two at some of these institutions. My credit card is swiped a couple times at some of these places.
I love it. Anything else, Dave?
With the Bedlam series presumably ending, who becomes Oklahoma State's main rival?
Gundy was asked that by a bunch of people today, and he didn't have an answer. Tulsa's still there. They play them, every other year or so. Obviously, they're in a group of 5 conference still. But I don't know. I mean, TCU doesn't really have a full-time rival. Now SMU's not in the same conference. Texas Tech is there, and Gundy was kind of talking about Baylor and TCU and Texas Tech and some of these schools that are 4 or 5 hours. Kansas State are already a rivalry, obviously. So there's no geographical fit fully that fans can get behind. But rivalries are good for college football, good for college sports, good for sports, period. And so I think having a game that they play every year that it's played in Stillwater one year, it's played on the road the next year, and fans can really rally behind is something that's good. So I hope they find that, and whether they give it a name or make a trophy for it is one thing, but definitely having a game that fans can definitely be like, this is the game this year that we're very excited for. It will be good for Oklahoma State in the future, I believe.
SMU's not. Where's SMU? What happened? Where's SMU? Oh, never mind. Oh, I love it. All right, man. Thanks a lot, McLean. Tell them where they can find you on social media, where they can find you on 24/7, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so on Twitter, it's going to be at McLean Baxley, McClainBaxley. I'm there more than I should be. And then, on 247, it's Go Pokes 247. That's where we're at. And we'll have coverage this week and throughout the season for football, basketball, recruiting, and all the good stuff in Stillwater.
Do you at least have your air conditioning on in that car?
Yes, it is cranked all the way, almost all the way up, yeah.
All right. Your phone does a great job because I can't hear it. And I was worried you were just sitting in that car like somebody, like when they find a dog in one of those cars, somebody's going to have to break a window and rescue
I would have
you out.
I would have hit y'all with the hospital bill if that was the case. If it needed to be.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Great stuff. And I'm sure we'll hit you up right around the time that the game gets here, game week, and talk again.
All right, sounds good, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for playing. Good stuff. There you go. Name a show tonight that put more Big 12 Media Days content out than us.
You can't.
I don't think you can.
It takes an incredible amount of preparation and dedication
does.
to line up two guests for one show, an hour's worth of Big 12 Media Day /
hour and 15 minutes and 26 seconds.
Opponent preview. I'm done. I feel like I've done all I need to do tonight.
Yeah, we might not have a whole lot left. We'll timestamp that. We'll timestamp the Team Ticker Big 12 preview segment. TeamTicker.com. Get your Team Ticker. And we'll timestamp that with our newest sponsor, Turtles Brew. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea. Cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. 6% ABV. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. They're in Cincinnati. They're in Toledo. Now expanding into Central Ohio. So good stuff. And hopefully, are you going to try to get some to take with you?
I did look it up. It is said to be sold at a location close to my house. I'm hoping that they have the orange vanilla. I feel like that might be one that I would enjoy.
Are you going to buy all 3 and then taste test?
Taste test on next week's pod.
Taste test on that, or before you go on vacation, so you know which one you gotta.
No, we need it live and be like, this is the first time we're trying it.
Okay.
See what happens.
All right, I'm excited. I like sweet tea. I like bourbon.
Kind of out on both, but I will definitely drink it. I don't drink tea. ABV. Tea. Period. But I will give this.
I'm not going to drink regular tea. Are you kidding? No. But sweet tea, yeah. Sweet tea's good stuff. You're going to be in the South, you're going to be in Florida. They drink all kinds of sweet tea.
Not the South.
It's Florida. It's just Florida. It's like Cincinnati being in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Because it's east of the Mississippi and north
south of Ohio.
Oh, boy.
But anyway,
all
yes. Right. What? Sorry.
I was just going to say, any of Dave's thoughts?
I did have some thoughts, not necessarily media day thoughts. I dug a little deeper into the football schedule.
Okay.
I try to go even further than the average podcast co-host. I wanted to look at a couple things. I think it's fair to say that Texas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, kind of like the 3 this year that might be a skosh above the rest.
A skosh.
A little bit above the rest. Texas has a boatload of talent. They are back. So, I've been talking about this for a long time.
Back. You are. There's nobody on the Texas's back train more than you.
No, Kansas State brings back a ton of experience, especially on the offensive line. They do lose Deuce Vaughn. They lost Julian Brents as defensive back, but quarterback's back. A lot of their weapons are back. Offensive 9 super seniors. Over 100 starts on the offensive line. Defense is still going to be strong, and then I think Oklahoma going to get back to where they've been, have a little bit of an easier schedule, and just a higher talent level. I'm not sure exactly what happened last year, but Dylan Gabriel coming to the NIP. We know how that's going to go. So, but I wanted to look at in this new scheduling format, does anybody play all 3 of them? Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas State. And there are 2 teams that play all 3 of them. Kansas and TCU. So I'm kind of saying, okay, well, those teams should be good, but that could be three league losses right there and you could play a good game and still lose those 3 games. Then I wanted to look at, well, okay, if there's a couple teams that play all 3, does anybody only play 1? Well, we know UC only plays 1. They play Oklahoma at home. Oklahoma, oddly enough, only plays 1, and they play Texas. And then West Virginia only plays 1, and they play OU. So, like, UC is one of a few teams that only has to play one of the perceived top 3 teams. You have a couple teams in front of them in the preseason ranking that has to play all 3. And then I looked at, and it's not necessarily fair to go year over year, especially in the transfer portal era. And teams' rosters change so dramatically and everything, but I wanted to look at, well, of the 6 Big 12 teams that they're playing that were in the Big 12 last year, because they are, they also call it lucky, call it whatever. They're playing the other 3 new teams. So there's only 6 Big 12 teams that they're playing. How did those teams do last year? Do you want to take a guess at how many of those teams had a winning Big 12 record last year, Chad?
How many were there again?
6 of their 9, because they're playing the other 3 newbies.
Right.
So how many of the 6 do you think had a winning Big 12 record last year?
2.
How about 0?
Wow.
Oklahoma, Iowa State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Kansas combined to go 18-36 in conference last year.
Interesting.
Again, it's not 1 for 1. It's not apples to apples. Things change dramatically year over year. But if you're only playing one of the presumptive top 3 teams, and of the 6 returning Big 12 teams, you're playing none of them had a win. Are they all going to all of a sudden flip it and they all end up having a winning record next year? I find that hard to believe.
Right.
So
essentially, it's what we talked about when the schedule came out, when we said, I think both of us agreed on this. I don't think if you tasked us with, okay, Dave and Chad, make the easiest Big 12 schedule you can for Cincinnati, that we could have made it any different than what it was designed as.
If you told me make the easiest Big 12 schedule, and you're obviously playing one of Oklahoma or Texas. Right. Well, I would have said, okay, I'll play Oklahoma and I'll play them at home.
Right.
And then I'm going to pick all these other teams, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah. It just the easier ones on the road, the tougher ones at home, not playing the top of the league. Everything broke. And in terms of paper,
it might not matter one bit, but
right.
It's hard for me to look at it and go, it's not going to matter at all.
Correct.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the fact that we're getting closer to football season and everybody's, their red colored glasses get a little redder. I mean, I've been pretty straight down the line that I think 5-7, 6-6 is what this team can do. I'd be just as surprised. I'd be as surprised if they went 4-8 as I would if they went 8-4. So it's a boring thing to say, and I just think that's kind of where they're at. I just don't see them losing enough home games to have a truly terrible season.
Right.
Because you're playing the new teams plus the back half of the conference from last year.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to see if Coach Satterfield is as engaging and forthcoming as he's been. It seems like he's been so far. But he clearly likes to talk, so he's not all of a sudden gonna not give answers.
Right.
But it's a matter of does he just go into coach speak mode, or does he give us any nuggets? What?
Forgot to tell Keegan to ask Scott Satterfield You're 2-0 against UCF in the past 2 seasons. What is it you have figured out in how to dominate the Central Florida Institute of Hospitality Management?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't want him to tell. I want him to keep that to himself so that he could deploy it.
Never mind. I won't text it to Keegan then. I'm sure he's not watching you. He's probably relaxing in that very comfortable twin bed.
Yeah. I think he said it was full.
Okay, full. We gotta work on this. You gotta get a queen at least. Look, there was nothing I loved more when I started traveling alone, like to AAU tournaments, than getting a hotel room with a king bed.
By yourself.
By myself.
Oh,
no wife, no dog, no nothing. Just me, like stretched like as far, like, you know, sometimes dogs sleep with like arms up here and legs at like, that's how, that's full. Come on, kid. Come on, kid. We're making him sleep on the couch next year.
Well, yeah.
If we're really going to do this and stay at your friend's compound, he's sleeping on he might be sleeping on a lounger out by the pool.
I mean, I might be doing that. He's got like a 40-inch TV and some couches, and
I might be doing that too.
Yeah.
I might just be like, all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously I'll be on the Twitters as much as possible tomorrow, catching the comment.
What time does he talk? Do you know?
I want to say 11:35 our time. I'll look that up in the morning and post something, but I think it's 11:35. I think he's third or fourth up.
Late morning, early afternoon, and you don't have Brent Yormark.
No, it goes. We have it starts at 9 with some person at I think 10 o'clock our time, maybe. Some person that has something to do with college football. What's that say? I can't read that. 10
9 a.m. National Football Foundation Chief Operating Officer Matthew Sign. And then Cincinnati at 10:35 Central, so 11:35.
11:35. Yeah.
But you want to be up at 9:45 to hear what Gus has to say, of course.
I could care less.
Not a lot of basketball really to hit on right now. Simas Lukosius did play today, Dave.
I saw that against the University of Kentucky.
Yes.
Where was that game?
It's one. I think it's in the Caribbean somewhere.
Oh,
I could be wrong. They started this trend lately of sending like teams to go to some of these USA basketball events. They sent Kentucky. Simas had a decent day. I think he kind of got it going late from what I saw. I was playing Uber driver to a 12-year-old, but he had 10 points, made 2 of 5 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3. Had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 25 minutes, and Kentucky won the game 81-73. It didn't sound like he was used as I think Cincinnati is planning on using him as more of a facilitator, putting the ball in his hands. It didn't sound like he was used in that fashion. A little bit more of a true wing or like forward, but yeah.
I'm sorry to break in here and go back to football, but this is too good.
Okay.
The Big 12 is pulling, and their representatives are pulling absolutely no punches with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. This was just posted on the Twitter. Big 12 Deputy Commissioner Tim Weiser on UT and OU. I think their decision was more about affiliating with a group of schools. they would rather get beat by Alabama than Kansas State or Florida than Iowa State. Look at the guy that works for the league just being like,
Yowza.
yeah. I mean, they just wanted to get beat by a different group of teams.
That's crazy.
Now you don't see that too often.
No, they just put it on the table. You knew that there was going to be some of that popped up this week.
It's all in good fun. If I was an Oklahoma or Texas fan, I wouldn't care one bit.
Yeah, I'm going to the SEC. Like, piss off.
Yeah.
And
we can argue about whether that's going to be a good move in the long run or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Like,
no.
They walked in with the hottest chick at the party, and
Texas with the highest budget in the country is just going to have more money now. Like it didn't matter before.
Actually, yes, they are just going to have more money now.
Right, but it didn't matter when they already had the most money.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Jace Richardson seemed to have a good peach jam. I know you guys touched on that a bit.
He's going to make a jump. He's going to be a big one.
Well, it's nice that the Wes Millers of the world were in on him early. Hopefully that matters. I do think it's encouraging that, and again, you said it, I've said it. It's about, did you get it done? But it does lend some positivity to the fact that like Wes and these guys are identifying talents prior to the, you can say the same thing.
It's happened like 7 times already.
Like with Isaiah, I mean, he was in the in the 30s when they really started recruiting him.
Flory was a complete unknown. Like that first day I walked in and saw Flory and Mike Roberts was sitting there scouting. Like he was a complete unknown. Now he's number 3. Collier went to number 1.
Yeah.
So, I think Jace is going to jump up. I don't know if he's going to be a 5-star because of some of their
it's probably has to do with like his measurables and athleticism and just overall profile, right? I mean,
but it has nothing to do with how he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, if football recruiting is part of their projection is NFL, then I would assume basketball is the same way, and he's just not the dynamic athlete along with being a great basketball player that you would typically associate with a 5-star.
I think he can get close. Like, I think that, high 30s up into the 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Finkelstein had him as his number 1 or number 2, riser this week at the Peach Jam. Yeah. And Eric Bossi had him as one of his breakout players at the Peach Jam. And several other places had him first team all Peach Jam for what he did this week. Davey had 21 assists and 2 turnovers.
I mean, that as far as I know, I mean, I've followed basketball a fairly long time. I mean, I think that's pretty good.
10.5 to 1. It's decent.
If you could replicate that in college, I think he'd have a pretty successful career.
I agree. And I think it would give you a great mix at the lead guard, combo guard spot of athleticism, explosiveness, talent, craftiness. It would be, it would be a huge get for Les Miller to pull off.
I mean, you would think with the amount of time that they've recruited him, the relationships that they've built, his relationship with Tyler, knowing that they're likely, again, it's July 12th, who the hell knows, but likely going to be taking a smaller, at least high school class. He has to be priority A, right?
Way up there.
I mean, he's at the top of our board.
He's yes. If there's a top of the board, he is not third.
Right.
You know what I mean? He is a guy that they are all in on. They're trying everything they can on LeBaron Philon, Travis Perry. They've got 3 high-level guards that they're in on. They're in on Flory still. Like, I've posted enough on the board on what I think about that. But then now Jaden Quinton's is reclassified to 2024. He projects as a top 10 guy. Like, this is an era of UC recruiting that is upon us that could get really, really fun if they start popping some of these dudes. And the consolation prizes, quote unquote, are some of the highest ranked recruits in UC history. Jizzle James, Rayvon Griffith, Tyler McKinley. Like, things are on a definite major upswing on the recruiting front for the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah, just gotta figure out a way to get it done.
Gotta close the deal.
Beer Sports Show. I'm not growing my beard out. I just haven't shaved this week.
It's vacation is like so close you can taste it, right?
I have to shave before.
Right, but I mean that week before vacation, you're just like, I don't care. I'm going on vacation.
Usually just, when you work from home anymore, it's like I think I shave like once a week now.
Right. What's the rush?
And then Beers also asked what we think of Brett Yormark talking about going to Mexico for basketball. We mentioned the football side of it a little bit earlier. I mean, I think it's a little out there of an idea. But if it's going to be like one showcase non-conference game a year, sure. I mean, that's, right. I mean, how many times would UC be involved in that? Like once every decade or something?
Right.
I mean, if that. So it's not like we're going to start setting up shop in, Mexico City and playing round robin tournaments and stuff like that. So I don't really have much of an issue with it, If it grows the conference and adds to a section of the fan base, and then great. I mean, other pro sports leagues have held one-off games there with great success. So go for it.
The other thing I think that is fun in this, Dave, is that marquee basketball recruiting weekend. Going back to UC and recruiting.
Yeah.
You would have to imagine this year it's going to be the Oklahoma game, right?
One would think that would be a good idea, seeing as the Big 12 is coming to town that week, so there's going to be even more of a red carpet rolled out feel. I mean, that's what they're calling their, homecoming series or whatever it is. It's a big, there's from my standpoint, what I do for my, career, we have a massive, massive festival downtown that weekend. The Bengals have a Monday night game that weekend. Like the
Reds are at home.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's tons of stuff. There might be an SC game, who knows? But I mean, yes, I would think, that's your marquee, your first conference game, your first, the Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, they're the bluest of the blue bloods in the sport in the conference. I mean, why would you not use that as a way to bring?
So what's fun is going to be like, how many are here?
Yeah.
How many of the 24 guys are here? I would imagine you try to get as many of the major priority guys that you can. How many of the 25 guys? It feels like every other week, like a new 5-star or high 4-star in 2025 is like Cincinnati's one of the schools recruiting me the hardest. We're still learning those names, which is fun because I think, honestly, Dave, 23 and 24 have been not great in terms of the top of the board and what that talent looks like, and the middle of the board. There's good players. Of course, there's good players. But we haven't seen a great recruiting class in a long time. 25 is going to be a great recruiting class. As long as they all stay in 25. I'm sure a couple of these guys are going to look and go, hey, I'm going to jump to 24 and try to get this NBA clock started. But like,
How is like
super-
this is a totally off the rails question. Like how I've never heard of any of this stuff until recently. Like how do you just all of a sudden decide you're going to be in a different graduating class?
well, some of it you have to consider as guys are like doing like working in prep years and going to overtime elite, like so they're not in normal high school settings where they can
Right.
start doing like the college thing where they're accelerating by taking more classes.
Like,
and
right.
getting
Like I was
more
like, I don't
credits.
know anybody that went to like high school and was like, yeah, I'm a junior, but I think I'm just going to graduate now.
Yeah, there's things you have to do. Like you've got to. There are these courses online that you can take that are NCAA certified or whatever, where you can move up, or you can knock off some of the things that maybe you're not able to knock off by. You're not going to be able to take 2 core English classes during your high school year, but if you handle one, maybe in the summer. Before your senior year, and you get that credit,
and then you have someone else handling the other one simultaneously.
Look, man, I don't know how the sausage is made.
You're not Abe.
I don't want to know.
You're not Abe Frillman.
No, I don't want to know. I just want to know that there's sausage on the plate. So yeah, and some of them like. They hold off or they say that they're going to push back a year, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, now I'm a lot better than I thought I was going to be, so I'm going to go back to my original class that I was supposed to be in.
Yeah.
There's each situation is different, but that's above my pay grade on how some of that stuff happens, and I frankly a lot of times I don't want to know. Just tell me if the kid's in 24 or 25.
Right.
Like, let me know what I'm covering is really all I'm concerned with in a lot of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Am I covering a 24 kid and I need to know, like, is he taking an official visit this fall? Or am I covering a 25 kid where the window is open a little bit longer? But 25 is loaded and they are in on or, in the early stages of making progress on a lot of really good high-level talent in 25, which it feels like with the way the roster is set up, 25 could be a bigger high school class than what 24 is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of dudes that look like, Vic, Jamil, Aziz, Seamus, CJ. We don't know that all those guys are going to come back for the season after this, but they all have the option to do so. Right now, there's only 2 guys, Odie and John Newman, that don't have any eligibility at the end of this season. So this class just is naturally going to be smaller, even with guys entering the portal that, maybe you didn't expect, or the season plays out and the writing's maybe on the wall for somebody, whatever the case may be. It feels like 25, there's going to be more room at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of really high-level talent being recruited to play in the number 1 basketball conference in the country. So, it's interesting because I don't know that we've ever seen UC that this heavily mentioned with this many kids. Like, when's the last time you saw a kid pop up, Dave, that was like, well, there's an under the radar guy that they feel really good about.
No, I mean,
it's like top 60 kids. Period. Like that's like if you're not top 75, they're looking in a different direction. It's wild. It's wild. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yep.
You got anything else?
Don't think so.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up. Thanks to our guests. It was great to have both of them on. Keegan Nickerson of BearcatJournal.com, not Keegan New York Knickson. I guess I'll try to get that fixed. I kind of just like it is. But yeah. All right. We will see everybody next week. Dave is on vacation. So we will get Party Dave from a pool somewhere in Florida.
That's right.
Should be fun. This is the Nightcap, presented by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.